So now let's look at basic constructions, and this is done in 2 videos, and this is the first part. And the first part is found in your textbook in section 1.7 on pages 44 to 46. And first let's talk about what we mean by basic constructions. What we mean is constructing basic geometric shapes using only 2 things. One, a compass, and the second, a straight edge. You could use a ruler, but we're trying to do this without actually measuring. So the first one is pretty straightforward. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to construct a particular segment that's congruent to another segment. So to start with, let's give a basic segment AB. And what we want to do is to draw another segment that's exactly the same length. And this is really just to get us some practice using a compass. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to just simply take our straight edge and draw a line. And then somewhere along the line we're going to put a point and let's call this R. So the key is we want to draw segments the same length as AB. And what we do is we simply take our compass. And you notice that compasses, although they're used for circles, can also be used for measure. And to measure it, you simply put one point on A and lengthen it out however long B is. So this would represent the length of AB by putting one side here on R and drawing an arc where the arc intersects with the line will give us the same length, so RS is congruent to AB. Let's look at that one more time. Again, let's use our straight edge. Let's draw a smaller one this time. Let's call this WV. And let's construct XY so that it's congruent to WV. And congruent segments are just simply segments that have the same length. So what are the steps here? First, just draw a line. You can draw it as long as you want to, make sure it's long enough. Put X anywhere along the line. And then switch to your compass. So use your compass, and what you're going to do is you're going to place one part of your compass on W, and let's draw it in so that it's exactly the distance of V. Then move your compass to X and draw an arc. Let's be really careful. Draw it here, draw it so it draw a little arc where the arc intersects the line. Now you have XY that's congruent to WV. That's the first construction. Construction number 2 is that we're going to draw an angle that's congruent to a given angle. So what you'll be given here is you'll be given an angle, and it might be named or it might not be named. Let's just draw an angle. So that's what's given. And what we would like to do is to draw another angle so that it's congruent to that angle. That is, has the same measure, the same degrees. So let us see our steps here. First, we're going to take our compass and we're going to set it any distance we want. It doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw it so an arc so that it intersects both sides of the angle. We're going to start from the vertex, right? We start from the vertex and draw an arc so it crosses both of the sides. And if you notice, there's a point of intersection at each one of these. what you're going to do is you're going to measure the distance between these 2 points. So you're going to need to change your compass. Right? And so we get a measure there, right? So if you notice, we have 2 different distances. We have the distance from the vertex, the original arc, and then to the second arc. So let's go through the steps of constructing the new angle. First, draw a line. And have a vertex. You're going to measure this arc and you're going to replicate it. So whatever distance that is, you're going to start at this vertex and draw the same arc. So you're going to draw it far enough. You don't draw it all the way around, but you need to draw it far enough. So that's the first step. Then the second step is you're going to measure this distance here, right? Remember, there's 2 distances. There's the distance number 1, which is the original arc, and then there's distance number 2. In a sense, is the distance across the angle, right? So let's make sure we measure that correctly. Starting from this point here, draw that arc there, and those 2 arcs will intersect. So where those 2 those 2 arcs intersect, let's put a point there. And then we're going to take our straight edge again, and we're going to draw a line from this vertex to that point right there. And if we're very careful, then what we'll end up with is an angle which is congruent to the original angle. And if you had a very precise protractor, you could do just that. So at this point, what I want you to do is stop the video at this place, and I want you to try to construct the angle that's on your sheet. Okay, let's go back. So here on the second one here, you were given an angle, and the original angle should have looked something like this. So the steps that you would go through: first, draw a single arc of any distance. And then draw a second arc, measuring the distance. I think of this as the distance across the angle. To draw a congruent angle, you need to draw another line. I'm going to draw it kind of an odd angle just to show you that it doesn't matter. I'm going to measure this distance. That's the original arc. And I'm going to draw that. I'm going to draw it down this time. We have that arc. Now we're going to measure the distance across. And that's right there. So what we do is here, remember, is originally we start from whatever the vertex is, and we draw our initial arc. Where that intersects one side, we're going to place our compass, and we're going to draw the second arc. Those 2 arcs will intersect at a point, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take your straight edge, and you're going to draw a line between those 2 points. And if you measure this angle and this angle, you'll see that they're exactly the same. In this first part, there's one more construction that we want to do, but the first thing we have to do is have to talk about what the perpendicular bisector is. So let's think about a perpendicular bisector. A perpendicular bisector of a segment is a line that bisects a segment. What do I mean by bisect? Cuts in half, cuts in 2 equal parts. That's the bisector part. And the perpendicular part is that it forms a 90-degree angle. And that's what we're going to do. That's construction number 3. So construction number 3 is to construct a perpendicular bisector. So let's do that. The first thing you're going to be given is you're going to be given a segment of a certain length. So you'll be given, let's just call this one ST. So what you're going to do here is you're going to draw an arc. Now the arc can be any distance, but it has to be more than half the distance, otherwise it won't work. So let's do this. Let's draw an arc here. Let's draw one up here. And let's draw one down here. And now keeping the arc length the same, right? So don't change anything about your compass. Just switch over to the other end point and draw a line. an arc, and draw another arc. So that you end up with 2 arcs on top that intersect and 2 arcs on bottom that intersect. If you notice that there's a point here and a point here. And then if you simply take your straight edge and connect those 2 points, you'll notice something. First, you'll notice that this distance here is equal to this distance here, right? That's the bisector part. And you'll notice that this is a 90-degree angle. So that's a perpendicular bisector. Let's do one more example of that, and then you can do an example. So again, let's say you start with a certain segment. Let's call this one AB. And we want to construct a perpendicular bisector of AB. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our compass. We can set it to any length we want to. It needs to be more than half. Let's draw that in there. And let's draw it in here. Now using the same length, let's go to B. And draw the arcs so that they intersect. Where they intersect, let's put a small dot. Using our straight edge, let's connect those 2 dots, and what we'll see is we'll get the perpendicular bisector of a segment. This will be a 90-degree angle, as all 4 of these angles will be 90-degree angles, and this side will be exactly equal to that side. And that's the end of part 1. Look on your guided notes, and you have 3 constructions that you should make. If you have any questions, then make sure and ask. When you're done, go to part 2.